Alright guys, welcome to April's tier list video. I've gone ahead this time and I have done any movements before the video. Let me know if you like that or not. I'm just kind of, I wanted to reduce the amount of audio clutter because my microphone picks up on my mouse clicking and my keyboard a lot when I'm moving them mid-video and I didn't like it. So, I've just done that beforehand. As a quick little guide, anyone highlighted in green has been moved up any amount of tiers. Anyone highlighted in orange is a new character. It's their first time on the tier list. And anyone highlighted in red has been demoted and brought down. So just going forward, I'll probably do that, just so it's obvious who's been changed if you want to look quickly. But yeah. So just off the bat, there were two moves up to S+ tier, Swamp Thing and Death Metal Batman. Death Metal Batman was an S tier because I was just playing it safe when he first dropped. But he's definitely, I think, the best character in the game. Spiritual damage is already very strong, and, he's got iconic stats, so he's stronger, can't really be hit by much. He has some weird interactions with his clones. They're not fully working properly, but he's just still very strong, even if he's not working at 100% of his power. So definitely an S+ tier champion, very much a win condition, very much a win button sometimes. And similar to Swamp Thing, well, not really similar, but Swamp Thing is a character I've always had an S tier. And I think it was just time. I mean, he's always been very strong. He's always been very meta-defining. So yeah, I just went and moved him up. I don't think there's much explanation. I think most other people you'll find tier lists for will have him in the highest tier. So it just kind of made sense. He's very strong. Damage reduction's huge. Energy drain is huge. Mediocre damage, but it doesn't matter because he's just doing so much utility. So yeah, just to quickly, those are two brief changes. They weren't anything crazy. I think both of them just should have been there in the past, and they weren't for whatever reason. So they've been moved up respectively. Moving into Orphan, she's the newest character. She was just added around, 30-ish hours ago into beta. She went live yesterday with the patch. A little early, I know, so, take everything with a grain of salt. Obviously, her MMH and Hawkgirl have not been live for very long. So, subject to change, but yeah, I think she's just the de facto best physical damage counter in the game. Physical damage obviously isn't really in right now, other than like Nightwing for PvP. So that's gonna hold her back a tiny bit, at least in Meta Brawl when it comes to Meta Brawl placement. But in game modes like Guardian or Maneuvers, where you can choose who you're going up against, if the other team is like a Nightwing or a Deathstroke, I think she's just or a Supergirl, very solid slot in to just guarantee you're going to win with that triple Nightwing tag, because she very easily gets over 100% dodge. Yeah, I think she's a little bit of a high investment character. I don't think she's as high as like Supergirl or Deathstroke, like not as high as the Assassins. Probably like, I don't know. I don't want to give a number just yet. I want to say like high purples, mid to high purples, and her legacy piece I think is going to be the big thing that's going to be the investment, at least the investment, hill or whatever to get over. Her legacy piece is very good, gives her a lot of self-healing, gives her a lot of extra crit damage, and once you get that high, you're going to see her increase in power exponentially. So yeah, I think stars help her survive, and the legacy piece is going to help her kind of do more damage. So that's kind of how I think of it. We'll see going forward. I think, just being such a strong, consistent counter to physical damage is going to have to net her a decently high ranking. But yeah, so she has very good synergy, especially now that Hawkgirl is usable. So, you can run her with Bop if you want to run Hawkgirl on your Batfam team. You can, run her in a Batfam Titans hybrid with Nightwing. So I think she has a lot of team options you can run her with. She's pretty much going to shut down most, if not every, physical dealer in the game, or at least, like in the one-on-one. So I think a very strong character, very good character. Not a must summon, I should say. I think if Batfam is like one of your top three teams, I think she's a must summon. She's probably the best frontliner for the Batfam currently. But just a very good character. And if Sinestro and Death Metal Batman were the two best DPS in the game, I think she would be probably S+ tier, maybe. But I think because for like Metal Brawl standpoint, physical damage isn't really in right now. I think she's gonna hang out in S tier for now. And joining her in S tier all the way up from A tier is gonna be Martian Manhunter. He got a solid rework. Him and MMH, when I first read them, I was a little worried they overtuned them a tad. I don't think that ended up being the case, actually. MMH kind of just got solidified as the Constantine counter. I think he's a bit more consistently a Swamp Thing counter as long as you can get Mind Ward up before, Swamp Thing's obviously going to initially drain the energy, but I think you can work around it with some like min-maxing on Swamp Thing on Martian Manhunter energy, but very good counter to JLD. He is getting deleted by Sinestro if you are not running protectors. If you're not running like a full defensive comp, Sinestro is just gets too much spiritual pen on his legacy piece and his just on the character, that I think just you can't like throw Martian into like whatever like a Titans comp and he has no protection and he's just gonna die. He needs a little bit. He's going to need a Riddler shield. He's going to need Starfire to start racking up some damage reduction on him. And then he can take down Sinestro. But as it is right now, he's not a consistent Sinestro counter, but it is possible to do, which I don't think it really was possible to do beforehand. His legacy piece is still required, absolutely. It's stronger. I don't think it requires more investment per se. But I think they just did a good job of making him... They solidified his niche of being a spiritual damage and an AoE damage counter, and they made the legacy piece a little more forgiving. It usually was like you had to invest a ton of legacy piece early on. You still should invest in it, but I don't think you have to go as crazy. He's just a very competent plug-and-play off-tank who's going to be sitting in the front line, taking damage, healing damage from himself, and doing chip damage with his ult. So very good rework. Didn't make him absolutely giga busted. He's still not a must summon, but he's still very strong. Now Hawkgirl is questionable because like so many whales who red 5'd everyone didn't even red 5 her, that I know. So there has not been a ton of testing, but I think from what I've seen so far, she is now usable. First of all, she was easily the worst bleed before. Now she's usable. Still not a must summon. I think if you want to run Bop, she's good. If you want to run Bat Fam, she's a good plug and play option. She's pretty good with she's gonna be good with like an Outsiders Justice League combo in the future. Once Justice League gets a better third character, they'll be in a good spot. But I think she's a very good off tank to counter spiritual damage. So I don't think she's not going to be doing tons of damage. She's mostly now just banking on absorbing spiritual damage and surviving in that off tank slot. But solid rework. If you're running her teams, if you're running, if you need that just plug and play spiritual damage tank character, I think she's good. She's not going to be doing a ton of damage. She's definitely doing more damage than she was before. Very easily, very much so. But it's still not going to be like Supergirl level damage or even Artemis level damage. But she's competent now. She has a purpose. She isn't just a complete waste of anvils. And I know Superman did get a new legacy piece. It's not enough. His kit is still just so bare bones, and he's still just, he's the first bleed. So I don't think the legacy piece is going to be enough. It's also just really high investment. Like, you need the first legacy piece at purple 5, and then you can unlock the second legacy piece. And the second legacy piece really doesn't come online until like yellow stars, dare I say, maybe like purple stars. So you're basically investing in a red 5 cape, but like now you just have 2 purple star capes that are like okay. Like I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's a bad system. If they want to give bleeds a second legacy piece, they have to. It has to be like Mythic Ascension, where you can't start at 0 stars, or it's just a downgrade, and it's a downgrade until you can like get it to purple stars. Until you can get the new legacy piece to purple stars, it's just a downgrade because the old one already is purple stars. So it's just a bad system. It's a weird system. I would not recommend free to plays even like acknowledge its existence. I think the piece is like fine. It's just a free set bonus for him because it's just rejuvenating strike on crack. So it's like okay, and then he gets a nice stun, which is good for killer tank, but like CC doesn't really matter anymore. I don't know. The stun is not bad. The self-healing is not bad, but he's still gonna need to live because it's a heal on ultimate and it's a second ult on ultimate. Like, he needs to live to that ultimate, which it's still just hard for him to do in the current meta. So I'm gonna keep him in A tier. I really don't see the piece bumping him to the same tier as the characters in A plus tier, unfortunately. And looking over at DPS, there wasn't actually, well, real quick, I'll just get out of the way. There weren't any changes in supports. I looked at potentially moving Joker up, but I think after seeing MMH and after seeing Hawkgirl being spiritual damage counters now, I'm going to have to keep him down. MMH is a good counter to him. MMH also is a good counter to Riddler now, too, because Riddler debuffs trigger MMH's counterattacks. So, Outsiders, MMH now, solid counter to AMW. A Joker, I think, is still the most valuable bleed for free-to-play players to summon on, but I don't think he's moving up to S plus tier just because he now has 2 more counters, and he already, wasn't like phenomenal in PvP, but he was good in PvP, especially in modes where you need multiple teams. But I think now he just has he has 2 more counters now, or 2 more characters that can deal with him, so it's going to make it harder for him to kind of solidify himself as a PvP unit. So he's going to stay in S tier, but he's on the border. He's on the border. We'll have to see if, maybe Hawkgirl isn't as crazy at tanking, whatever. He might move up. He might just stay. So wanted to get that out of the way because the last 2 changes aren't really because of, anything else. Then the last 2 movements on this tier list aren't because of anything else that happened. Just kind of readjustment. I moved Arsenal up from C tier to B tier. He's been getting, pretty consistently minor buffs here and there, especially now that MMH is getting reworked and you really want to activate either 3 JL or 3 Outsiders to get the increased Mind Ward duration. There's a universe where you run Arsenal in an Outsiders team. He is now more geared towards Teen Titans because he obviously gives them crit damage up, but that's fine because then you can just hybrid Outsiders Teen Titans because Starfire, and then he's boosting Nightwing and MMH. So I think there's a universe where you run him. I don't think he's just early game fodder anymore. I think there's a universe where you run him and the utility he's providing to the Outsiders Titans hybrid, because that's a thing now. That was enough for me to bump him out of early game tier. And he kind of switched places with Robin. I think with the introduction of Orphan, there's just no universe after early game where you're putting Robin on a Batfam team. I think he has, until you get him to Red Stars, and unless you're throwing Nightwing sticks on him, he just has the lowest DPS output out of this, other than Arsenal, out of the standard mythic DPS. He's honestly, I almost put him F tier because he was just that's genuinely how worthless I think he is. If Deadshot didn't exist, I would confidently say he's the worst standard bleed DPS character in the game. But I don't think after early game you're gonna really be using him. It's just super budget Nightwing, even Wally has bleed stats, so Wally's just better. I always thought Red Hood was better post-Ascension, even though Red Hood's not even that good. Arsenal at least is buffing. He's not buffing any of the teams he's on. He's not doing enough damage to warrant taking up a slot on Batfam when you have characters like Orphan and Nightwing and Death Metal Batman. There's just no reason to put him on the team. Titans now, you're not slotting him in over even Wally. Wally's not great, but Arsenal is giving Titans crit rate or crit damage now, one of the 2. You're just choosing Arsenal over him. You're choosing Red Robin over him because you need a frontliner, even if I think Red Robin's pretty niche now. Superboy getting Titan, there's no universe where he's better than most of the characters on either of his teams. He's not in a good spot right now. And being a standard mythic is going to hold him back stats wise. So yeah, I think that's why I ended up moving Robin down. He's just not in a good spot right now. He's not worth investing in. And yeah. So I think that's going to do it. Not a crazy long, not a ton of changes, but I think more than we've seen the last 2 months. I think February was big because we had Batfam, but March was definitely a stinker. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end it. Let me know, of course, if you have any feedback, or also let me know if you like me moving them beforehand, or if it was maybe a little confusing to follow. I'm still, still learning as I go on how to do this kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's going to end it for today. Thank you guys for watching, and again, let me know what you guys think, and if you disagree, of course, totally allowed, just my opinion, but let me know. All right, see you guys later. Bye.